#opinion quote so that we can track your conversation. I'll reintroduce my panel to you. To my immediate right is ODM's Opiyo Wandayi. In the middle is Edward Kisiangani, our resident political analyst. And across from me is Kimani Ichungwa of TNA. You're all welcome to the program and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Any resolutions you want to share with Kenyans?
As a party, ODM intends to work for the people of Kenya, so that as the year unfolds, the people of Kenya can realize the potential of the country.
Okay, Prof?
I want my friends and the critics to bear with me this year because I have a contract with the truth.
Oh, okay.
That would mean you've not been telling the truth. Anyway, mine is to keep true to the transformational agenda that we promised the people of Kenya to transform this country and change people's lives. And
yet, with those very promising remarks, both sides have kicked off the year with the very unfortunate, to some extent, banter that is often negative and divisive in as far as politicking. Prof, is it just unfair of the political class to plunge the country into electoral fever 20 months to the next general election?
It's obviously unfair, Anne, because we have a lot of business to do. But the situation on the ground makes it difficult to avoid this political temperature that is rising. You realize that certain things have not been done well. I think we can say that since 2013 we have been in this political mood. Soon after the election, some people started campaigning. But why do they find this space to campaign? Certain things are not right. You get bad legislation going on in parliament. These are parliamentarians. You get the executive doing things the wrong way. You get the economy not doing very well. Promises not working. You also see the problems in the education sector, workers complaining here and there, generally corruption hitting our country from left and right, and also attempts to violate the constitution across the board. So these things really create an impression, they create space for people to start saying, why would 2017 come quickly so that probably we make decisions on whether we want to continue with this pack from the MCA to the senator to the governor. Somebody has a complaint about this, so we think that now it is just being heightened. We are looking at it from the top level, where probably Honorable Raila Odinga is questioning what President Kenyatta is doing. But Anne, you must come down to the grassroots and ask how many of the people in the grassroots want their MCA to go back? How many want their governor to go back? How many want their MP to go back? Even these MPs are in danger. So the campaign is everywhere because of bad leadership, and bad leadership that does not deliver creates room for people to say, let us quickly move towards 2017. So everybody is stationing themselves strategically to see what they can do in 2017.
Kenyans can't wait to go back to the ballot, you're saying?
Yes.
Opiyo?
Firstly, Prof, of course, you must understand that for me, as an MP, I'm not endangered. But more importantly, what we find ourselves in is a situation I would call a midlife crisis for the Jubilee government. And you will recall that this government, when it came to power, it came on the basis of certain pledges that it made the people of this country, certain promises. Now, 3 years down the road, Anne will agree with me that none of those promises have been met. And that is the realization that informs the current desperation that you see from the utterances of the Jubilee leadership. The realization that elections are just around the corner and they haven't been able to deliver on any single promise that they gave the people of this country. And that's really what puts the government in a corner. And you'll agree with me also that a government that feels cornered, a government that feels insecure, is an extremely dangerous government anywhere in the world. And that's why we as CORD, we as ODM, must continue to point out to the people of this country the failures of the government.
Kimani looks like he's about to choke right now. But I just want to clarify some of these things because you said I agree with you on various things. I think one can agree that various pledges have not been met. Certainly there aren't laptops, for... Yes, but to say all of them would be stretching it a little too far.
I would want to hear which one has been delivered.
Which one has been delivered?
Yes.
Okay.
The only one they attempted to do was the free maternity services. And yet, in the process, they have suffocated the county government because the county governments are unable to provide services because the government is not paying the money, national government. So I would tell you, starting from agriculture to infrastructure to health to education, it has been failure after failure.
Would you call the
spectacular failure after failure?
All right, I hear you. I want us to engage so that we can all contribute on that. But would you call the progress? Would you concede progress on the SGR or in terms of the electricity and the rolling out of that as some of the pledges being met?
The minimal progress you see in those areas, the SGR, the electricity, those are projects that began with the Grand Coalition government. Those are not Jubilee government projects. And therefore, Kenyans are weak, and they are seeing for themselves that this government has taken them down the garden path, and they are very bitter. Kenyans are extremely bitter with this government.
All right, Kimani.
And you can hear, I'm actually astonished by the hypocrisy that my good friend, the Honorable Opiyo Wandayi, is exhibiting on national TV. To say that SGR's achievements are minimal and started with the Grand Coalition government is ridiculous and laughable, because we know, and this country knows, where it's just a concept that the Grand Coalition government left of the SGR project. It took Uhuru Kenyatta's first trip to China to get funding for this project and to commission this project to start, and it is now at almost 60% complete. We are now thinking about its extension from Nairobi to Naivasha. He calls the free maternal health care minimal. And if indeed it is choking people, it's choking people in CORD-led counties where governors have completely refused to be accountable with the money given to them from the national government. But in counties where governors are accountable, in counties where systems are working, free maternal health care, Opiyo Wandayi, probably because you come from a county where people are choking in corruption at the county level, you may not be able to realize that. But in counties where devolution is actually working, the free maternal health care is there. The capitation of schools.
It's not accurate, Kimani, because the Council of Governors, which brings together all governors, have actually said that we have to stop this project because central government is not sending the money.
Correct.
So to say that it's only found in opposition areas,
I did hear the chair of the Council of Governors speak. And what he's talking about is delay in disbursement. Just like the delay in disbursement of CDF and all other funds in government because of bureaucracy in government. But that doesn't mean the system is not working. It's been working for the last almost 3 years now. And I think I don't even need to go into details to enumerate all the achievements of this government, because they are there and they are there. When he talks about agriculture, Opiyo Wandayi says hypocrisy, because I have been with him to Galana, and he knows Galana now, the first 1,000 acres have already been harvested in the last year. Poor harvest is relative, and I think we sit in the same committee, in the Committee of Agriculture with Opiyo Wandayi, and he understands the intricacies of that project. The other promises in the education sector, the school capitation, the payment of registration fees for KCPE, KCSE candidates every year since the Jubilee government took over, and indeed, as you did mention, even in the power sector and also the road sector, there is not a single project. Unlike in the past when projects would stall, there is not a single road project that has stalled in this country. Indeed, new ones have come in. The power projects, the geothermal sector is up and running. A lot of geothermal new projects being commissioned. I think last year you saw the president did commission too. But going back to the issue that you brought on whether we are actually being fair to the people who voted for us to deliver on certain pledges and promises, I want to say that as representatives of the people, at least those of us in the Jubilee, on the Jubilee side, those elected on the Jubilee side, we are focused on the transformational agenda that we promised our people. CORD, of course, I would not fault them, because they're also doing what they're expected to do, to look and fault government on what they think they should be faulting government on. But the only thing I also found ridiculous is that these are people who are scared that they have already lost the 2017 election, and actually now being reactive in the run-up to the election.
Let me just chip in somewhere. You see, if you bring on the show two members of parliament belonging to two political wings, like they are now, you don't make a lot of political, a lot of progress in debate, because each one of them is defending their position. I think the most important thing that Kenyans would like to see is for us to look back at you, and then you look at us, then you say, yes, I come from Jubilee. We have done such and such a thing, but we have failed here. We can improve. Then I also expect CORD to come up and say, yes, the executive has failed here. Let's, for example, pick Mheshimiwa, the issue of corruption. Let's pick the issue of ethnicity. These are some of the problems that we're having in this country. Do you think you in CORD would have done better?
Much better.
Those are some of the questions that we want to ask.
Prof, let me put it to you this way, because so in 2016, with the opening statements that we've had from both parties, would you have expected perhaps a different tone from the State of the Nation address that CORD put out, which basically sets the tone for what their politics this year would be? Should it have been more about attacking government on what it hasn't done, or also outlining their own policy objectives, as you've said, what would they have done better?
Yes, I expected, that's really the point I'm raising. I expected the CORD leadership to say, we think the government has failed this way, because that's their duty. And then they say, government has failed to do A, B, C, D. But if we took power, we would also do A, B, C, D and correct this in this specific way with the details. But also say, on our part as CORD, even when we are serving in the opposition, we have also failed. Nothing came out of that. And that is a responsible leadership that we're having in this country. Because if you look at them, in terms of corruption, some of the governors, some of the people have been corrupt. They don't condemn. They keep quiet about it. No, just wait. They keep quiet about it. If you look at the major failure of CORD, it has been the legislative agenda. Very many occasions, some of them have helped to vote in bad laws, including the media laws. But when they reach the president, and probably president consents to some media laws, they run back and call press conferences. Their leadership in parliament has been wanting. They have never come out to fight out, for laws that are constitutional. Yet they will blame the executive after it assents to laws which have come from parliament. Sometimes they have worked with Jubilee in making this mistake. So Anne, I'm just concluding this. For the side of Jubilee also, it's not good, it's not honest for them to keep singing to us what they have done and what they did right. They should say, we have done certain things, but there's a lot of work to be done. We have failed Kenyans in this area. If they gave us another mandate in 2017, we probably have to improve, and these are the specific ways in which we shall improve. If we move like that, it's okay, but otherwise, when we keep it the way it is like this, people must start thinking, maybe we need a third force.
Let's put that question, hold on if you would please, sir, directly to both sides. Opiyo, other than pointing out, rightly as you should, what government has or has not done, what are your policy positions for 2016?
Firstly, Anne, I think, Prof, you need to get time and read conclusively the State of the Nation address that was given by Prime Minister Raila Odinga 2 days ago. It actually did contain a number of proposals, key agenda items on the part of CORD. But that aside, Anne, what we are doing currently is to assess the performance of the government in power. The government in power in this country is the Jubilee government. And on that account, and we are saying that Jubilee government has failed on all accounts. And I want to now down to two issues, if you allow me. One is the issue of infrastructure. Let's talk about the roads. Jubilee government promised way back in 2013 that they would implement a so-called annuity program that would tarmac 10,000 kilometers of roads within 5 years. And as we speak, 3 years down the road, not a single inch of tarmac has been done by the Jubilee government. We are wondering what will happen, what miracle will happen in the remaining 1.5 years for them to do even an inch or two. But more importantly, look at the issue of Galana Kugalu irrigation project. The Jubilee government set out to irrigate 1 million acres of land, so as to assure food security in this country. 3 years down the road, even the 10,000 model farm, 10,000 acre model farm that was supposed to be set up in Galana, only a fraction, to be exact, only 1,000 acres has been done. Now, at a whopping cost of 7.5 billion shillings, taxpayers' money which they are unable to account for. I'm telling you this because I'm an authority. I sit in the commission area with my friend Kimani Ichungwa, and there's no gain saying the fact that all these projects that we're talking about are basically being schemes to rip off taxpayers' money.
Fair enough, Opiyo, but just hold that thought.
Yes.
And that is what precisely I was saying, that you do have the right to call out government where you believe they have failed. But what we are also saying on the program is that in 2016, shouldn't the opposition also be articulating their policy positions? And you referred specifically to Raila Odinga's State of the Nation address, which I have read through and through. He did not at any point articulate new policy positions. So, you know, other than saying that the opposition would have done better, but what specifically would you have done better, perhaps in infrastructure or in agriculture, where you've claimed to be an authority?
We would have implemented our manifesto as God had we taken over power. That is fair and simple. But more importantly,
you would have done what you said you would.
No, of course, yes. And in this year, we have set out to do specific things. One of them to ensure that the Constitution is reviewed through the Okoa Kenya referendum, to ensure that the people's aspirations are upheld.
I wonder first of all whether a review of the Constitution was in the CORD manifesto in 2013. I do not. I wasn't bothered to read the manifesto. But I want to take him back specifically on what they call the State of the Union, State of the Nation address, which to me was a propaganda statement by the Honorable Raila Odinga and his cohorts in CORD, and it was shocking to see that some of the people, lieutenants, standing right next to Raila Odinga are the same people who he was intent on protecting. When you talk about corruption, you cannot talk about corruption when the people standing right next to you have issues to do with land in Yatta, have issues to do with cigarettes and smoking, cigarettes laced with corruption on the BAT scandal in the UK. You cannot be speaking about it when you have people who have been charged and convicted by the highest court of voter bribery, and you sit there, Opiyo Wandayi, and want to try to intimidate IEBC. That statement was meant to do two things: one, cover up their corruption scandals; two, try and intimidate IEBC against taking any administrative action, which I must take this opportunity to ask IEBC. Indeed, I did say, Professor, last year, that what IEBC is actually doing today is illegal, because you cannot be reviewing in an administrative manner a judicial decision made by the highest.
Fair enough, but I want to ask you the same question that I've proposed to Opiyo, other than counter-attacking the opposition on what they were saying. What are your policy objectives for 2016? What kind of politics should we expect from you?
Ours was very clear, and you say...
Let him answer, Professor.
I will tell you what mistake we have done.
Mistakes have you made?
I will tell you what mistake we have done. The one singular mistake we have done is given too much leeway to Raila Odinga and Opiyo Wandayi and the rest to mislead Kenyans. And therefore, if there's anything that we should be doing now, is making sure that they no longer continue to mislead Kenyans. And I was very excited last evening to hear Raila Odinga saying that I do not expect Jubilee members of parliament to be answering me. I'm speaking to the executive and waiting for Uhuru Kenyatta to answer him. And I want to tell Raila Odinga straight to his face today, Uhuru Kenyatta will not answer you. The people of Kenya will indeed answer him in 2017 when they see the realization of the Jubilee Manifesto. We committed to Kenyans 2.5 years ago to transform their lives and change people's lives in various ways in different sectors.
So what's top on your agenda in 2016?
It is not an event, Anne. It is a process. When he talks about infrastructure, and I was shocked that Opiyo, you read and buy newspapers every day. You have seen those roads, 2,275 roads, the first phase of that 10,000 kilometers being advertised.
You see,
and tenders being called out for work to start. Therefore,
we want
this is a process. Kulana Kulalu, when I talk about hypocrisy, he talks about 7 billion shillings having been spent. The Auditor General's reports are there. There is nothing like 7 billion shillings having been spent on 1,000 acres. And I think we only need to be honest, and the singular mistake I told you, Kisiangani, is having allowed them to vend and propagate a lot of lies to Kenyans. That you can go on national TV and tell Kenyans that 140 billion shillings have been lost through Europe. And you say, Raila Odinga said it in the street.
And
that he will name names.
This is too much.
Why don't you spare this for the chaos you always cause in Parliament?
Or in the villages.
And we discuss serious things. The issue is, I don't think that it will be good for me to speak on national television and say Jubilee have done nothing. I wouldn't do that,
because you know they've done
I can't also say that Raila Odinga and Kambani are saying nothing. So really what you see is that there is credit in what Raila has said. There are certain things that Jubilee has not fulfilled, and it's a fact. The issue of laptops, there are many things which you can say he can count. But I wanted him also to show the other side.
By July, you have
wait, the other side of things, where he would say, we have not done this, but we would do it this way, and there must be specific details. He hasn't done that. So for your side, I also beg you that when now you come to national television, don't come to campaign for Jubilee. You simply say, yes, we have done a few things, but we have also failed, but we can fix them. So once we finish that, we move to the next level. What are your policies? What do you want to do for Kenya in 2017 that would attract Kenyans? And even them, what would they do? Look at their case. Right now, they are saying they can fix things. But I've said that several times certain things have been done in Parliament, and including the budget. They don't even come up with an alternative budget that would shape the Republic. So really, we end up with the same square, you know, doing rounds in the same square, and we don't make any progress.
Gentlemen, unfortunately, we are out of time. You will get that chance. And I say it is unfortunate because the simple question that I have asked each one of you is to articulate policy positions and what we should be hearing from your politicking in 2016. And to be frank, that has not been clear. So perhaps as a winding up comment, I will allow you the opportunity to once again address the situation. Other than the counter accusations that will obviously be there, what is it that you hope to put forward to Kenyans in 2016? Opiyo,
no, and if I get to that point, and we must make the points clear.
You will have to make them briefly
we have to, because
sir.
Firstly, this unnecessary obsession with Raila Odinga will not help Jubilee. Jubilee's fortunes are floundering, and they will go down the drain. But the most important thing, and as CORD and as ODM, we have said time and again, that we are asking Kenyans to judge the Jubilee government against its performance. And when the time comes, they give us the opportunity, the way they did last time, you know very well, and we were robbed the opportunity by the shenanigans. If they give us the opportunity to govern this country, they see for themselves what we can do under the leadership of Raila Odinga as president of this country. But more importantly,
things such as
we have got clear programs on agriculture, on infrastructure, on everything. We need a whole day to elaborate on this.
Surely, if you know them so well, you could list them out briefly.
But the most important thing, Anne, is that this country is going astray under the Jubilee leadership, and we have got a duty and responsibility as Kenyans to point out this and take the necessary steps to correct the wrongs that are being made by this government. We are saying that in the direction we have taken as a country is not right, and unless something is done, we are simply going to be a failed state under the leadership of the Jubilee administration.
I thank you for that. However, it remains unfortunate that you've still not outlined what policy positions you would have. I am hoping, Kimani, you will be able to do that. What policy positions does Jubilee have for 2016? What's the agenda?
I'll just tell you one or two things. One, what has been mentioned, the laptop project. You know the issue that came about with the court and people going to court, and the project was stopped at the procurement stage. That has all since then been ironed out, and in the course of this year, on the education sector, you will see that being rolled out on the laptops to schools and the digital systems in schools. Two, in infrastructure, as I said, late last year, a lot of tenders were floated, advertisements were done in the newspapers. That program also will start being rolled out this year. You have seen already projects in healthcare, the 38 billion shillings equipping of hospitals across the board, irrespective of whether this is now a devolved county function. Even in those CORD counties where corruption is rife, we will make sure that they get medical equipment that will help the people of Kenya, so that they don't all have to crumble in Kenyatta and other referral hospitals. In healthcare, I think I've mentioned that, and therefore on matters to do with corruption, again this government has made it very clear that the policy will be zero tolerance to corruption. And I think what has been done in the history of this republic, having over 370 officers serving in government, being charged and being under investigations for issues to do with corruption, I think those are things that you will see going forward this year. And we will remain focused on. Well, the one thing that as an administration this government has decided to do this year is to focus on the real issues and forget the propaganda, and of course make sure that Kenyans also are not fed on the propaganda by people from funerals and roadsides without any proof at all.
I think, well, you have tried 2 out of 10. in terms of policy, but you can do better. The only thing that
I could do better if you gave me 30 minutes.
Yes, but what I would say in this case is this. Raila Odinga and his troops have blown us the sewage, and it's stinking in the midst of Jubilee.
Sewage of propaganda?
No, it's stinking.
Kimani, please, let's talk.
And what we really need to do is this. We must recognize that Jubilee is in trouble, really trouble. But it doesn't have an opponent that would make use of that trouble that Jubilee has. So, as a matter of advice to my brother, if you took advantage of the trouble that Jubilee is in, actually it is on the canvas. You would form a government in 2017, but you are floundering the chances.
Actually, earlier.
You are floundering the chances, and what's likely to happen is that Jubilee could get treatment and it bounces back, and people might vote for it. So 2017 finally
not might
if we went for elections right now, it's because if people vote for Jubilee, it's because they don't have an alternative.
They wouldn't vote for it, yeah.
Let's see what the public has to say. Let's see what the public has to say about our conversation. Thank you for sending in your feedback. Campaigns have started early. They should discharge their mandates first before downing tools and go to campaign field. It's nothing new. We have been in this mood since some people lost power while others failed to deliver. Wow. If the government has failed, then the opposition alternative government has also failed in its duty as government checker. A final view for now, let all the energy go in offering service to the Wananchi. Jubilee or Accord, it's not yet campaign time. We'll take a short break. On that note, we're back with more on the other side of this break. My thanks to our guests. I'm back with more news after this.